Wow, I was surprised by this movie. Having been a fan of the series, my expectations were sky high. Well, they were not met and thus the 6-star rating. It would have been a 1-star rating if I stopped watching after the first 90 minutes, but the last 30 minutes saved it. Somewhat. I do love good endings though. This had that. Okay, here is the biggest complaint. They made righteous Aethelstan out to be gay. Seriously. Why would you do that? History was my minor in college and I loved to read such, and never have I come across that being put on Aethelstan. In fact, this is what you will find if you do some legwork to know more about him. Aethelstan was one of the most pious West Saxon kings, and was known for collecting relics and founding churches. His household was the center of English learning during his reign, and it laid the foundation for the Benedictine monastic reform later in the century. Just because he never married, died age 45, you shouldn't take creative license and decide to make him gay just to appease the vocal LBG crowd. That is not fair, especially attributing such quality to a God-fearing man. Not good, and definitely turned my wife and I off. Besides that, like I said, the writing for the first 90 minutes was horrible. No real purpose, all over the place. Not sure who was good and who wasn't. But thankfully the great battle at the end, Uhtred's honesty, and Aethelstan's humility grace me some people to root for. Oh, I also liked the Saxon queen. The mother of Edmund, the next ruler to follow Aethelstan and one of King Edward's wives. Well, I guess I've said enough. Sorry to be somewhat of a Debbie Downer here. Cheers. As someone who owns the books, I was happy when Netflix picked up the Last Kingdom series, and like a lot of PPL I was looking forward to seeing the completion of the series and hoping for something special, seeing as Netflix has a big budget. However, what we actually got was one more season and a 2-hour film. Something that started off as an almost one-to-one to the book's one season was telling the story of one book, so by the time we get to season 3 it was really only into the 3rd book with 9 books in the series. One wasn't expecting to see it come to end by squeezing an entire season or book into 2 hours, or the equivalent of 2 episodes. And then hit us with the same cancel culture that has got me canceling my streaming service more and more lately. If they're gonna treat us like little more than cash cows, I mean, Netflix now is charging £16 PM and it can't even finish what it starts. There's even 2 shows in its catalog that were cancelled after only 1 season, so storyline goes absolutely nowhere, leaving you wondering what the hell is going on. As far as The Last Kingdom goes, I'd recommend you buy the books and skip the TV series altogether, unless you're fine with only getting half the storyline and a 2-hour film that will just leave you wanting more. It's so good to see this movie. I wish it was just 2 hours long though. It was 3 hours long. The opening scene will pretty much sum up what the movie is going to be about. I'm not gonna give any spoilers, however, just one thing I wish was a bit different in it: that King Edward was still alive. He was such a great character, and the actor who played him, Timothy Innes, was really remarkable. Some really cool things you will notice. Uhtred has even longer hair and on purpose is looking older, but rightfully so. You will be really happy to see some of the very memorable characters such as, and, Finan, back as well. One very surprising thing is that almost most of this movie is shot in the dark. So if you have a high-end old TV, you are in for a treat. Bottom line, if you loved the watch, you will truly enjoy this movie. Now, I didn't think the movie was awful, but after being a fan of the show for many years, it became very obvious how bad of a decision it was to end with a movie. When you watch a show for 5 seasons, it's gonna be a lot of time to fill, but they always made that time feel worth watching and gave a lot of characters a depth that the show from many others that doesn't exist in the movie. This movie was eventful, but if it weren't for what I've seen in the show, I wouldn't care. Extremely rushed. Didn't even show several important events and basically jumped from A to B without care, not to mention how all the events in the movie relies on one person being a complete moron that makes zero sense. If you cannot make a season 6 of this, it should 100% have ended with season 5. Now, the main plot in this movie is worth telling and ties in well with the show, but when it's all said and done, they failed and you just feel, what was the point? When season 5 ended, I wanted more and was excited for the movie, but that end really felt like the circle closed, and now I wish they ended it there. A lot different from the show in terms of pacing. Much faster pace, which it should be. Unfortunately, more of Martha Elementary writing, which left things unexplained and audience baffled, in a bad way, and wokeness making historical characters gay. Spoilers 1. Where were Uhtred's men when his sword was taken? 2. Uhtred would never be lured by treasure found in a crypt outside his kingdom right after the capture of England. 3. After Uhtred was released outside Bebbanburg, why'd he wander aimlessly? Wouldn't he go to a village rather than freeze to death? Character limit, it's bad. To say this movie is rushed is an understatement. It's more of a random movie put together by random clips. Ever since Netflix got hold of the rights for the books, the quality has been going downhill with every season culminating in this atrocity. How to cram 4 books in 110 minutes, and they didn't even try that, because the screenwriters and the director, in their magnanimity, know better than Bernard Cornwell and decided to toss away his books and insert their own fanfiction, because they surely are better than him, no doubt. What is it with writers these days that feel the need to not care about the original story and think they are better than the author? Except the old actors, the new ones are very weak and they look like they got the roles from random TikTok's auditions. Besides the Aethelstan subplot that is just an insult to the great king and his faith, as a fan of Bernard Cornwell and all of his works, I can't find anything good to say about this movie. As much as I'd try, it is an insult to the man and to Alexander Draymond who's portrayed Uhtred superbly. Maybe the only good thing is that it has finally escaped Netflix and the books can finally rest in peace. As a suggestion, read the books. There is no comparison.